Yeah. You tell. Oh, yeah. They're also. But yeah, they're.
Yeah. Also,
It's now 6:30. Call everybody to order and we'll do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kind of a forum, so take a motion to open the meeting.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Equal 5. This is the time we do public comment, addressing things that aren't on the agenda for this evening. You're welcome to bring something forward. If well, it's probably not going to be acted on, it will be acted on in the future select board meeting. Anyone's- Okay.
All right. Is it okay if I pass you guys out a packet so you can follow along with
Yep.
referencing?
Yep, and please state your name for the recording too, so.
I will. Stand over here, doesn't matter where I stand.
As long as you can be heard from back there.
Maybe as close as you're closer to the owls, so they can pick it up for.
Okay. So like here?
Yep, that'll work.
Okay. Good evening. For those who don't know me, my name is Kayla Levenseller, and I'm the president of the Kenneth Workman Youth Sports Program. My reason for coming to you tonight, in short, is to ensure that we can carry on the 35-year-old tradition of running Belgrade's youth sports program while using the Kenneth Workman Field. Until the past year or so, Workman Field was maintained by volunteers. If the grass needed mowing or a board needed replacing in the dugout or the infield needed a facelift or any other issues that might arise, it was up to the volunteers to figure it out. While we are grateful that the town has decided to take over mowing responsibilities and general maintenance, we are finding it increasingly difficult to work with the town manager and the Parks and Rec, specifically Jamie, the chair of the board. This is a long story and I will keep it as short as possible, but it's hard to tell a 35-year-old story when it began when I was approximately 6 months old. So for tonight, I'll keep it to the 2+ years that I have been the president of K-West. Almost immediately after I took over as president, Jamie has seemed to have an issue with me and the K-West board. On the first 2 pages of the handout, you will find meeting minutes from a Parks and Rec meeting in April of 2023, where Jamie states that, quote, K-Wisp is falling apart. Some of the members would like to bring it into Parks and Rec, and there will be some money that would come with it, end quote. You can read the rest of his plan in those minutes, but that quote is important. The next page is an email from Jamie at the end of May 2023, which is a month after the Parks and Rec minutes I just read. This email is the first I'd heard of anyone wanting K-Wisp to dissolve and for Parks and Rec to take over the program. May is an extremely busy time for us as parents on the board, so we agreed to push that conversation to our next K-Wisp meeting in June. Your next page, you will find meeting minutes from K-Wisp that state, quote, with constant changes at the town level, it was determined to continue with K-Wisp as constructed, end quote. Last year, I attended a meeting with Lorna, Dan, the previous rec director, and Corey, the head of maintenance, to discuss the ball field. The meeting ended in basically agreeing that the town would mow the field and that K-Wisp would continue to control the schedule as it has for 35 years and carry on with business as usual. A couple weeks back, I attended a meeting with Kristen, the new rec director, Lorna, Jamie, Jacob, who is a member of both K-Wisp and Parks and Rec, and Megan zoomed in from the K-Wisp board, and Corey. Prior to the meeting, Kristen sent a former use agreement for us to review. This is next in your packets. Oh, no, it's not next in the packets because I didn't print it out, sorry. I spent time reviewing this former agreement dating back to 2018, and when I arrived to the meeting and started speaking about said agreement, Lorna said that the agreement was null and void and there was no need to discuss that prior agreement that I do not believe was ever signed. I'm not sure why she didn't let me know this before the meeting, as she was included in Kristen's email. Then Jamie went to print out 4 pages of perpetuity articles for the town and let me know that this was actually what mattered. I didn't realize until after the meeting that all 4 pages didn't apply to the situation. It was just a paragraph within those pages. Article 4 is actually what's next in your packets. Article 4 states, quote, "Shall the town approve the use of the town-owned parcel of land just north of Belgrade Central School, the Stewart Lot, by the Belgrade Recreation Association, Inc., as an athletic recreation area?" End quote. I'm gonna pause the quote there to explain that K-Wisp was recognized as the Belgrade Recreation Association, and we still file with the state of Maine as so. Since 1990, the state of Maine has recognized the nonprofit as both the Belgrade Recreation Association and the Kenneth Workman Youth Sports Program. During the meeting, Jamie said that we must file as the Kenneth Workman Youth Sports Program and change our name. I believe he wanted this to happen so that Article 4 no longer applied. Article 4 goes on to state, quote, "Said field is to be developed and maintained by said association under the administration of the Belgrade Recreation Committee until the town revokes this privilege by vote at another town meeting." End quote. Lastly, from this meeting, Lorna said she would email a new agreement for us to edit that she copied from another town and replace the town's name with K-Wisp throughout the document. This is next in your packet. Reviewing and editing this agreement took myself and other board members hours. I didn't want to waste my time doing so because I had a feeling this still wouldn't be the end of the nonsense, and I was correct. We sent back a copy of what we were willing to agree to at the time on our given deadline of April 4th. We heard nothing back until this past Friday in an email from Jacob that stated that, quote, "The town would like any agreement to use the legal name with the state on any documents," end quote. A K-Wisp board member responded asking why this was all happening all of a sudden. She also stated that it felt like things were going on without the knowledge of the K-Wisp board and that they were requesting changes without explanation. Jacob replied, not by addressing the concerns that were brought up, but by saying, quote, "I do know that if we aren't willing to provide legal name and documents, we will not be able to use the fields," end quote. After I read this email is when I decided that enough was enough. This has become far more political than it needs to be, and when we start threatening to take privileges of 4-year-olds away, that's where I have to draw a line. The town has yet to provide me with any agreement that was ever signed between K-Wisp and the town. So here I am today, asking the select board respectfully to uphold Article 4 and to let K-Wisp continue to volunteer for the town and for the kids in our community. I do not believe it's fair to treat volunteers like this or to make them feel like they need to hire a lawyer to feel safe volunteering. K-Wisp continues to file the appropriate paperwork with the state as has been done since the beginning. I will not sign any documents that put my board at risk, and I don't think it's fair for the town to start asking now after 35 years. I'd suggest more oversight of the Parks and Rec and the town manager when it comes to handling these types of situations. I have tried my best to be as transparent as possible tonight, and I hope I've achieved my goal of protecting the volunteers, specifically the Kenneth Workman Youth Sports Program. We put countless hours into organizing this program to make it run as smooth as a handful of good volunteers possibly can. Thank you all for your time and consideration.
Any questions or,
I think we obviously have to look at it,
I think we need to get it on
as
the next board.
soon as possible so we can get back to you. I mean, I'm sitting here going, oh,
Right, well, and that's why I assumed that nobody knew. And I kind of had to find out a lot of this because I was kind of forced to. I don't really know all this off the top of my head, but our season begins the week after vacation, and T-ball has been given a schedule and they play for 2 hours on Saturday mornings on Workman Field. So basically, that's just what I need to know is, do I need to move T-ball and remove us, or can the
I
4-year-olds
would-
play T-ball on Workman Field?
We can't decide anything here.
I think it's already been decided.
Yeah, I think until we hash this out, we need to let them do what they've been doing, how they've been doing it.
I agree.
I don't wanna make any changes until
Yeah,
Bruce.
So question, have the 5 board members up here, have you guys been informed of any of this stuff?
No,
No.
5 of you, I mean, this is going on steadily throughout this town, and this is getting very old. As you guys realize, I sent an email to the 5 of you last week, and we have yet got a response back on that email. This is the stuff that's been going on in this town, and it needs to stop. I've been arguing this for years. This shouldn't be happening. This is our kids in town that are getting punished over foolishness. That you guys should be involved in this, not being done secretly behind your backs. And it's something that you 5 need to address with administration in the town office.
And honestly, I wish I would have brought this to your attention sooner, but I just thought that it would end eventually, but I feel like it won't.
well, I think we need to hash it out, but I would, certainly from my perspective, I would say I would not look to move T-ball. I mean, we'll find a way to make it work. It's worked this long. I can't imagine we're not gonna be able to find a way to make it work in the future.
Yeah.
That's one person's opinion, but
So you guys have been ordered not to use the field, correct?
We were told that if we don't provide a legal name, which I was told apparently what the legal name was, because I don't Google nonprofits on my spare time. I was told by Jamie that our legal name was the Belgrade Recreation Association, so I had to start digging into that, but it's both, and I have documents from 1990 from both Belgrade Recreation Association and the Kenneth Workman Youth Sports Program.
When you file with the state, it's Belgrade Youth Association.
it's Belgrade
Belgrade
Recreation
Recreation
Inc.
Association, Inc. But from 1990, we have our, what is it? It's a permanent tax exempt for your nonprofit, and it says Kenneth Workman Youth Sports Program, same month, same June of 1990. So that would be a DBA,
Right, I mean, that's a
Right,
DBA.
right.
so.
AKA, right, yeah.
I would think so.
All right, well, we'll get this on the agenda. You wanna-
Yeah. I just wanted to say that in your packet is the agreement, the field use agreement, which simply explains the work that Corey's team would do, mowing, weed whacking, making sure there are dumpsters, porta potties, and there's complete control, as there always has been, for K-WISP to do all of the scheduling. And there's nothing, it says as early as spring weather permits until October 31st of each year, that K-WISP has complete control of scheduling and use.
This, what I printed out was the original that Kristen sent. That,
And I had legal counsel review this. He picked up on the name K-WISP because he couldn't find it.
that's
Our
what Jamie,
attorney.
yeah, that's what
Yeah,
Jamie
that's what
said,
our
so.
attorney picked up on, but this has complete control, as it always has been, for K-WISP to do all of the scheduling, use those fields. And that priority is given to K-WISP and Belgrade teams. It doesn't say anything about K-WISP not being able to use the field. There's nothing like that in here.
Yes, but I'm not here looking for control and rule over this field.
No, but K-WISP has always done the scheduling for all of the teams and used the field, and they've done a lot of work there. We're trying to protect K-WISP and the town.
I have
And make sure that
another
the kids have a
text
place
from-
to play.
I have a text printout, if anyone wants to see it, from Jamie from last year, saying quite the opposite. That he wanted to meet with me to make sure that we could that T-ball, that we would have priority, and I said, who would have priority over baseball, softball, T-ball, and he said Cal Ripken, which is,
I don't know anything about that.
I feel like a lot of people don't, and that's,
So I know it has to go to the next meeting. I think this is like a three-part thing, unfortunately. We're looking at what Kayla's talking about, which is perhaps a communication piece in the past. I can't attest to the relationships and what was being said or what was going on, but we are trying to move forward from that. So the meeting that Kayla is referring to, we had asked as a rec board because I was trying to get transparency. And perhaps what was being communicated in the community and what was going on, or what was the intention. So the intention is this came from the town. It is a field use agreement that it had been issued in 2019. The perpetuity article refers to the relationship. I think what we were getting back, as Kayla said, there were concerns about who was going to be in charge. I am the first person to say, I do not want to be in charge of scheduling baseball and softball. They've been doing it. There's no reason for it to be changed. The only piece that we said was it was important for Parks and Rec, if we were going to be communicating with Cory as well as Kayla, that we were all on the same page. So somebody wasn't calling Kayla in an urgency saying the dumpsters are overflowing. There needs to be a chain of command. So there were a couple of things we put in place. One, Cory and I were the contacts. Two, KWIS still would have all of the scheduling rights, but Parks and Rec did ask them to share that communication with us. So that meeting was 3 weeks ago. We asked them to share the calendar so we could see. So if somebody calls us, we would know what was going on at the fields. That again was trying to address some of the things that Kayla and Mimi brought up, which were they were arriving at fields and things were left behind, or there was a mess and they were the only volunteers cleaning up. So that was going to help Cory and I go to the fields, make sure if we knew there was a game coming in or there was a practice, that those things were taken care of. Other things came up from the meeting. I think all of it boils down to communication. I really don't feel strongly that anybody's trying to sabotage anything. I just think that we were trying to get a couple of things in place. One, answering the town's need for the field use agreement. So if somebody unfortunately gets hurt down there, we're all covered. Two, making sure that the names are correct for the organizations. So as Phil, the lawyer, came back with, they have a federal tax ID number, which is under Kenneth Workman, but they do not have a nonprofit designation. That is still under Belgrade Recreation or Belgrade, whatever that may be. So that's something that will need to get looked into. Parks and Rec has a board meeting tomorrow night. Everybody has been notified of that. Jacob is one of our board members. He's also on KWIS, so he has been going back and forth with communication after your last meeting to take notes. I feel confident that we are moving forward and away from some of this stuff that's been going on, but I think it's important that the select board knows that that is the background for the field use agreement. This isn't new. It was signed in 2018.
I've never seen a signed copy though.
I think Lorna found one.
I think Mary has a bunch of old historical paperwork. I think the last agreement she found was 2020, so it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
Since there's been any sort of agreement signed, and this merely protects KWISP and it protects the town. And it outlines the responsibility of facilities to mow, weed whack, make sure there's dumpsters, make sure there's porta potties. Electricity, making sure that's all set. It doesn't do anything with regard to scheduling or overseeing KWISP scheduling games or practices or it doesn't do anything with that or take that away.
CMP is still being paid by KWIS. And just until last year, KWIS paid for the porta potties and the dumpsters for.
Yeah, we've taken over.
You did, but we've taken it over.
I understand that, but I just
So,
wanted, I know.
that's in the past.
We budgeted
It's in the past, but it's in the past of somebody that just decided to change everything, which I believe was Jamie.
No,
To
it's
take
not
it
who I
upon.
heard from when I was asked to make sure we started paying for the dumpsters, nor the porta potties.
Oh,
And I coordinated all of it.
I'm happy that you do, but I
Okay,
just wanted to be
well-
clear that that's not what it was, and honestly, I don't think the town ever really cared what we were doing, because the town didn't ever help
again, that's in the past.
It is in the past, but now I'm being threatened basically that we can't play sports there anymore.
I think we do have to get away from the term threatened, because I think this is an agreement. I'm gonna respect your standpoint. I understand where you're coming from in the past, but I think we are trying to move away from that. So the gate is locked. We discussed that at the last meeting, correct? Corey, right?
It
So
is, but it's not. It's open on the other side and I talked to
But
Corey.
you can't drive cars through the other
Right,
side.
you can't drive cars through the other side, so it's not locked to say we're locking this down until the field use agreement is signed, it was locked because the fields weren't ready to be used. I had just spoken to Warren today and asked if we were okay, if there's no field use agreement tomorrow at Parks and Rec board meeting. We all agreed, that is a public meeting, so as Jamie and Jacob and anybody said, anybody can attend. That we were going to allow continued use, as you said, Dan, as it has been until we can resolve this field use agreement. And a big part of that is we were waiting for Phil to come back, and he just sent that information back to Marna. So Parks and Rec will review it. As we said, we would send it to you. There's a deadline of next 2 weeks, so it can be on the May 6th agenda, which is what it was
supposed to be on this agenda, but there was somebody from Calric in on the field yesterday that went into the side gate and was measuring for what I assume is gonna be there, whatever they're gonna do to the field.
Where's Cal Ripton out of, is it?
It's like the district. It's Belgrade, Oakland, Sydney.
Do they have a committee?
They're gonna have to have a signed agreement too.
And that was part of this field use agreement and part of the email that was sent to K-Wisp, and I know Jacob said you guys talked
Because
about
they
that.
should have
That
that.
anybody who was going to be scheduling had to show that they had proof of insurance. That was the big part of that. Again, nobody's doing any work to any fields, so I want to get away from that. They perhaps were measuring, but Corey has been ordering in-field mix. And they're talking about those things. So I think that trying to be positive and move forward, I would like the language to be that we are trying to support K-WIS and Parks and Rec. As Corey said, I don't want to talk about the past. I understand perhaps things were being done before to those fields without permission, but that's what we're trying to address right now, moving forward.
Sarah.
Is this a point comment?
Yes.
Okay, so I think are we like problem solving right now?
No, we're just letting people have this say.
Right?
It's going
I'm
on.
gonna say two, so.
It's
So
going
we
on to
agree
the,
it'll be on the next.
yeah, it's going on to the next.
It will be on the May 6th.
And we're agreeing that they can be on the fields as soon as the condition is ready to do so.
We gotta make that decision and I don't have a problem.
Right, yeah.
Because May 6th, like once the season starts, we have something every night of the week until school is over, like most parents do with multiple school age children.
Who schedules Calric and Bud? Is that the problem?
They schedule through us, but I last year was told that they might take priority over K-West by Jamie.
Nobody is taking priority over K-Wisp, so we can put that on the floor right now. We discussed that at the last meeting. So everybody goes through Mimi. As soon as they've shown proof of insurance, she can schedule them. And we talked about prioritizing Belgrade and K-Wisp first. So that should not be an issue.
I believe that's outlined in the field use agreement.
Okay, we'll deal with that next.
Yeah.
You want to make a quick motion, make it official that,
I move we discuss this further at our next meeting.
and allow people to
And
start.
allow K-Wis to continue.
Yeah, allow
The way it's always been. Until
K-WIS to continue with what they have been doing on the fields until we all have a chance to sit and agree.
second,
All right, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kayla.
Sarah?
We still on for comment?
Yep.
Sorry, Kim, I need to take the mic out of your, to say something and get going. So, Sarah Langet, I am in the school board and, the last 2 weeks, different things have been, discussed. I sent an email to each one of you relating to Article 19 that was voted on May 2023. And then how that competes with the state law related to the forward balance funds. Those two being that way already, the school board have made decisions over that, but because I think because both attend to monies of the towns, there is a gap to re-understand the impact of both set of orders. And maybe I will ask the select board to consider looking for legal opinion on that. So I sent an email, just good sent email about it with all the background information of it. So I just suggesting that. And then the other thing, a reminder, please make sure that we get an agenda to have the budget discussed here, being presented here before the May PAC meeting, which is the budget, the district budget meeting where that is voted on by all the towns.
And what date is that?
That day is May 22nd, Thursday, May 22nd at 6 o'clock at the PAC at the high school. So, I don't know, from here, I don't know if that will be in the agenda for next time. Checking,
Get Barclay maybe to come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have more scheduled, try to get it scheduled before
Well,
schedule.
the first meeting may be May 6th, so we have time to.
so thank you. I'm sorry for kind of rushing, getting into that public comment because I got a meeting at 7. So.
5 minutes, pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Went from one to the other.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
All right, any other public comments?
Dan, the only thing I'd like to say is, once again, giving credit where credit's due, that they had apparently a very successful egg hunt on Saturday, and just, thank you and credit to the, Parks and Rec and all the people that helped do that, because I hear it was wonderful even with rain.
It was.
My
200
kids had a blast.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we had 200 participants and 2,800 eggs.
Very well, very well.
Wow.
It's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You guys did a great job.
yeah, thank you.
All right, so we'll move on now to review and approval of the minutes. Motion to open up that item.
Second.
All in favor? For 5. Anybody have any comment on the minutes? Didn't really see anything.
No, Jefferson.
I did not have anything.
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Unfinished business, water district well contamination options.
So, Carol, Barbara, and Doug and I met, Dwight, Valerie, Teresa Pulver, Tom Roberts, and Kyle Hall, to review the options given at your meeting on March 18th. Basically, the state took away option B. I think maybe it was the case that Dwight had offered up that as an option without speaking with legal counsel, was our sense.
Right, 'cause the problem was with the ownership.
Yes.
Split cost.
Yes,
And if we buy out the properties, then who's gonna own them?
Who's gonna own them?
Correct,
Yeah.
that was.
there were a few issues.
I said we could solve that problem. They didn't seem to like my solution.
They did. So you're back to option A, which would be to design and install the public water supply, or option C, which is to construct the bump outs. They did come up with the 1.25 million estimate. One of the questions for them was the opportunity to have the state finance the town's portion, which would be half of that 1.25 million. So Kyle said that he would put some figures together and get those to me today, which he did, and I forwarded those out to you all, but you have a hard copy. So dependent upon the term, if that's the route you go, dependent upon the term, number of years, he suggested a maximum of 10 years. So your choices are obviously one through 10 years, and he's given kind of a estimated payment schedule for that. He also, not he, I apologize, Teresa, the attorney, chimed in today and said that we had already paid to them $54,910.94, which was intended to be applied against our 50% share of the community well. So that could be applied to whatever that final balance was, the 50% from the town, which reduces that a bit.
So Lorna, as I look at the email, if I'm reading it right, they're basically financing us with no interest,
You are correct. He said. no
which is
interest.
not a bad deal.
And we can pay it all in one, we can pay it in 1 year, we can pay it anywhere from 1 year to spread it out over 10 years.
Mhm.
Right,
Which,
Yeah, that-
if you go to 10 years, it's not much more than it was gonna cost us to run the water system
Right.
first.
So just one question, I'm sure Gerald asked this question to Dwight or whoever. We're saving 2.8 million, they weren't willing to take up a little bit more percentage.
They were not.
they were not at all, they did not like any of my questions or answers.
We tried,
They
we
would have
tried,
preferred I wasn't there.
we tried.
So,
So maybe the option of spreading it out over 10 years would be,
I think at this point, when we're looking at.
have the least impact on the town.
Say that's gonna be least painful,
Yeah.
especially if you're not paying any interest.
So just what they're looking at, a 10-year payment would be $57,008.61 a year, if we apply that balance over. So. If we had to build a water district, we'd be paying at least $35,000 a year forever.
Mhm.
So limiting
Plus
this to
half of the
10
system.
years.
Plus half the system, well,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
doing most of the system, but we'd have to pay.
And we have to do repairs and maintenance. So to me, to get out of it at the end of 10 years. Interest free
Yeah,
is
I think
a
that's a good arrangement.
pretty appealing one.
Now,
From a-
the voters approved us forming a water district, gonna have to take this back to the voters. Or does this come under the agreement where we're sharing 50-50?
I think Teresa said that a modification for this option,
Right,
they could put some language in there, so I would assume they would draft something for the board to review, and we could have Bill
we could go back.
review it as well, of course.
Right. And it could either be an amendment of the original contract, be written in as an amendment to the original
So
contract.
we wouldn't be taking this back to the voters.
So we wouldn't have to
just
take it
be
back.
doing
We wouldn't have to
this
take it back to the
This is the split.
Right,
And this is for existing, right? What happens, you got new ones that come in, what's gonna happen?
Deal with them as they come.
then we do what we're doing in Pinkham's Cove.
Yeah.
We take them one at a
So
time.
that's gonna be added
Yeah.
expense.
But it would be the same thing if we do with the water district. Anything new, you have to add on to the water district.
And I just made one other comment, I think to Doug or something, that you got buildings going up, new houses, there should be, you can't put a requirement in there, they gotta put a room in there big enough for a filter system. Cause you're gonna, houses are built on slabs now, multiple, you got them right over here in this field. They need a water system, you're gonna be adding on to them. Because there's no room, and right now, the water systems are in the garage, on a slab.
They'd have to either have a bump out or an inside room.
So I'm saying, like, we have a requirement.
I think Han said
Building.
if it were if we had zoning, we had some control
Right, if we
over,
had zoning,
but we don't, so we don't.
so the
That
town would
makes
have to
sense.
adopt zoning.
Maybe, you might have to look at it, when you get a bad area, you might wanna look at zoning in that area.
Yeah.
gonna be a planning board. Thing to start
Oh.
looking at.
Yeah,
The only, the only one thing I would say is that subdivision is already pre-approved. So if the subdivision was coming into us and we knew, well, it'd be a lot of different issues besides just knowing where it's pre-approved. I don't know what we can do with just by issuing a building permit, and that would be more code enforcement.
What about a single property though, or something,
A single
like
property.
say it's a single lot building a house? I know that one approved and you probably couldn't do anything there.
Right.
Say somebody, another piece of land here, somebody buys and wants to build a house, you can't, there's no requirement.
we could ask the planning board to look at it and see what.
I mean, this might save you money in the long run, if they have the room, you still put the filter system in, but
But
you
I
don't
don't
have to
know
build a pump
if
in.
planning boards, a single house isn't anything in the planning board's
If we,
jurisdiction.
if we ask the planning board to look at zoning that would allow for that,
We don't have zoning.
I know, we would be asking the select board to look at, could they be
Enact-
creating a zoning
At least for this.
For that
part.
for the triangle area?
Yeah.
And if, which then I think that that's where it would go, the planning board
Yeah, that would
to,
have to go to voters.
yeah. And we'd have to look at
And then you could
it.
put restrictions on
At least that one, usually know there's that one issue right now,
it. Yeah.
there's a lot.
Well,
I know zoning is the Z word we're not supposed to talk about.
Well, I understand that, but if you're just doing it for this
In this
situation,
case,
it's
it might be
Absolutely.
really
it's not like you're specifying that it's commercial, residential, but if
Yeah.
you're gonna build, you need to leave a. What is it, 6x8 room or something available, you might not need it, but they can use it for storage, and if you do need it.
Right,
you can- It'll be less expensive for the town.
yeah, we wouldn't have to pay, we just have to pay for the system that goes into it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not putting the bump out,
Yeah.
that's gonna be an expense. Quite a
It
bit.
is,
And also to make it look good. Some houses where you're trying to do that bump out, it's gonna be a little difficult, I bet.
yeah, it's certainly looking a lot nicer if it was part of the process instead of, oops, now we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Oh,
And if
something
they were
to
made-
discuss.
So these new, sorry, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt. These new places were made aware of it beforehand, they may voluntarily do. it.
Right. So they don't have it like they can bump out someday, they might wanna make the room, and so they're aware of it going in.
I
Something,
know we can't restrict building in it, we checked that.
Right.
so it's something that between Hans and maybe the planning board on zoning, see if we come up with some ideas from that, possibly either MMA or lawyer. Some options of what we can require.
Should we vote to ask the planning board to look at it along with Hans? Do we want,
Well,
Well, first we have to vote on what option we're choosing, because
yeah,
if we're choosing option A, then that's a.
Well, yeah,
Well, maybe not, because the water system is only
only gonna be for
going to
those,
be
It's only-
designed for
it's
these
only-
13.
yeah, we'd either have to add on to
properties.
the water district or we'd have to put in pump outs,
Right, right.
so.
well, if our choices are between option A and option C. I personally do not see the water district is solving the most efficient way to solve that problem. To get into running a system forever with unknown costs and the maintenance and the repairs being all our cost. You know, something blows up and we get $100 bill, $100,000 bill to fix it, it's like, oh. So, to me, option A is not a viable option.
Not when you got option C now,
Well,
we
we've
didn't
got
have
C.
option C.
We
when
did not have
started all
C.
this.
Right.
We have a motion.
I move that we approve option C as a solution to the salt well contamination problem in the triangle.
Second.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Who's second?
Michael,
Just one thing, in that motion, does the financing have to be in that one?
No, it would be-
You can, but
we don't have to decide that.
yeah, right now,
Okay.
we're
I just
gonna
wanna
have
make
to have a
I mean, that's-
legal agreement in
and that's
place
gonna be,
anyway.
and that's gonna end up being part of the budgetary stuff too, so.
You know, maybe we ask budget committee to weigh in on it. So we're not taking the budget committee's input away.
Alright, this is my own fault, I'm a little behind on option C, can you just do a brief distract?
Option C is to construct bump outs for modular home properties and install water treatment systems in 13 properties. With the assumption of individual cost of $150,000 for bump out construction and water treatment system install. And settlement for 5 modular properties. And then assumption individual cost of $60,000 for 8 water treatment systems install and settlement. So that option is less than 1/2 of designing and putting in a public water supply, which would only take care of 13 properties. So if you have other properties sprout up, there's no way to guarantee that there would be room in the well to add them to the well, or they might be near enough to add them to
So
the well.
they're
So
using
it's-
their own wells and just put a filtration.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
like
who's
similar
left?
to
It's what we're
like what
doing
we
down-
have here.
Down,
We have
well, it's what we're
filtration.
doing down over the hill there,
Pickens
Pickens
Cove.
Cove.
Yeah.
Same thing as in that.
And anybody with a foundation that can go in the basement.
The
Who's-
state's
who's
been doing this.
responsible for the maintenance? The home.
There's a settlement
There's a
over
settlement to
15
cover
years. They
that.
do a settlement of maintenance, the cost to heat it.
And
the
electricity,
to run it.
For a period of several years as part of it.
So these folks will be getting a cash payment. That it will be their responsibility to put that money into savings account or whatever, so that they have the money to maintain the system.
But at least releases the town of liability.
Correct.
And they'll have a
Yes.
settlement that relieves the town and the state
And the
of
state.
liability.
The state's been doing it in a few other communities where they've had this issue, and it seems to be working well from what they say. So,
And when we first started talking with the state about this, the bump outs weren't an option. They didn't have that as an
Yeah, they
option,
didn't have a system that could work in a bump out,
right?
but
They had to be in a cellar, in a basement or
So then
something.
what I can see with that bump out, is this gonna be homeowner approved, or we're just gonna go in there and say you're gonna build a bump out and. Yeah,
Well, they have
yeah.
to, they have to settle on this as part of the agreement. They have to go to each one individual
So
one.
they're gonna have to.
We
go
can't
talk-
force them to do it.
right, correct.
You're gonna go talk to them and say, this is what we're designing, and if they agree
Yeah,
to it
the
or
state,
not.
yeah.
But if they don't agree to it, you're not doing it.
No, then we,
then they have the option to go to the state and put in a claim against the
There's an
state.
appeals process. at the
Appeals
state
process for them.
Yep.
So they can do that. So we don't know if these folks will even take the settlement, but that's what they're looking to offer at this point.
And it's a reverse osmosis system.
That's what's in here?
Yeah, that's what's in here.
That,
It does create a byproduct. Don't it?
Yeah, it does, but it does create salt.
so just tying this together, I move that we discuss, that we ask Hans and the planning board to see what it would take to do zoning in the affected triangle, the larger area around the triangle, to see if there's anything
see
that we
if
can
we
do.
could require
See if it
space to be
requires
made for future.
what we can do, how we would approach that.
Second,
Right, all those in favor? 5-4, 0 against. The time I retire. So now on to new business, committee appointments and resignations. Reappointments.
I move we reappoint Robert Lewis to the cemetery committee.
Second,
Discussion. All in favor? 5-4, 0 against.
And I move we include Joe McKenzie the reappointment to the upgrade Stevens Fund Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 5-0.
My two words
We have one resignation, Sharon Nato. Center for All Seasons Building Committee. Motion to accept the rest.
I move we accept her resignation with regret and send her certificate thanking for her service.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? 5-4, 0 against.
We have Shannon Whittington, who has been serving as our local health officer, sent a email this afternoon with her job. She has not been able to find time to dedicate to serving as our health officer, so she resigned, and I was appointed and sworn in this afternoon.
Congratulations.
Okay.
You're gonna have to get a hat rack on there.
Yeah.
I move we accept her resignation with regret and send her notice thanking her.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? 5-4, 0 against.
Okay.
Next item is new fire station financing discussions.
You're looking, at us, I can give us a little bit. Bruce. We can all chime in, but we had a meeting the other night and looking over the options, you know, as we know, we didn't get the grant. Even though we made it through a couple of the processes, they stopped the funding for this year, so we met, we talked. I did email Sheridan, just to ask him what the increase would be, waiting year to year. It's like anything, everything goes up. Especially with the tariffs, who knows what's gonna happen. And I think he said in there, don't we have it in there, it was gonna approximately 500,000, 300 to 500, I think was. 550. Yeah. I mean, that's a guesstimate, could go down, doubt it, not much goes down in this country, but, so he gave us that information. He did say if we wanted to start this fall, if we wanted to go to the town, they would need to know by the end of July, just to order the material, that's a 4-month lead time. And to start sometime in October for, if the town approved. So we did apply for the grants, Lorna did a good job getting those in, we want to get that done because the deadline was before this meeting, but. We discussed waiting. Hearing from the grant, which probably won't be till next April. If we don't get the grant, what do we do next? We go to the town, now it's a $500,000 increase. Or now you wait another year, it could be another 500, now you're $1 million more. So we voted is to try to take it to the town, at least the committee's recommendation of the select board, and we can discuss with you what options. We need to go this fall and see if the town wanted to approve it for funding, which Lorna gave us some numbers for a 20-year bond, but they did not have a 30 right now. Significantly more than what we had thought. We did some calculations the other night, which I think we missed out a decimal point somewhere. So, which I know is gonna increase. Did you have a figure in there for what the town per?
I actually sent the mill rate calculation form to Rob to ask him to figure it out. He hasn't gotten back to me yet. I can guesstimate. I hate to do that because if I give you a number, you're gonna, and it's not that, you're gonna say, well, you said.
No.
So keep that in mind, but my rule of thumb would be for every $500,000 added to our budget would be 50 to 60 cents per thousand evaluation.
So a 1 mil equals about $1 million?
Yeah.
Okay,
That seems to be rule of thumb.
I don't know the math.
I may be way off. I
So
don't
what'd you
think
just
I know
say?
that.
It would be what?
50 to
50 cents
60
per
cents, yeah,
thousand?
50 to 60 cents per thousand evaluation.
For every 500,000.
Per, 50 to 60 cents per thousand So if you have,
Should be
if you have a home,
$150 on a $300,000
if you have
home.
a home that's $500,000, then you would be 50 cents for, each thousand of that.
For 500,000.
500,000.
So if you have a $500,000 home, it's gonna be another $300 for your tax bill. Am I doing that right?
Yes.
That's where we made a mistake. I think we did.
Yeah.
30. We did quick calculation the other night. like, When you were-
It wasn't that high the other night.
No,
Yeah.
So I do, we understand that that's a big, I don't want my taxes to go up, nobody does, but at some point. We don't have good faith in that this grant's gonna happen, just the way things are going. I know they said this past year, everything was good, just waiting for financing on the money. Everything looked good for us, which. Election, things like that, we won't talk politics, but. I don't know if it's gonna change next year. We might get through the process and then we don't get funding. What are we gonna do next year? Do we wait another year? Apply, and then it goes up another 500,000. Now you're financing another $1 million on top of it. I do know another,
We'd be financing 25% of that. thing.
if you got the grant.
If we get-
We're
If
saying,
we got the grant, absolutely.
right,
Yeah.
we're saying if you don't get the grant, if we just keep going down the road, it's gonna cost more. I'd love to get the grant, trust me, that would be the best way out, but.
And we don't know what the bond markets are gonna do either.
Correct, I mean, if that went down to
There's so many-
1% or 2%, I wouldn't, I mean, the rate, I mean, your payment would be.
Right, my concern is, I mean, I have several concerns, but one is that there's so much instability right now, so many unknowns. And while we made it through all the processes with the grant, it was just that things got stymied because of politics in Washington, and no CDS funding was permitted
Right.
in the continuing resolution. So, and I don't think that King and Collins are the only senators who want to have their projects
Oh,
in the
I agree.
budget, you know, all states count on this money. So there's no guarantee, but I would think it would be worth waiting 1 year, trying the process, because if we can get 75% of the cost and we're bonding $1 million instead of close to $7 million, it's a lot better for the taxpayers.
I agree.
But I wouldn't, if we don't get it, if things fall apart again next year, then I would say, okay, we took a shot, maybe it'll cost us a little bit more, maybe it'll cost a little bit less, or who knows? It's just, they're just so many unknowns. But the fact that, you know, we could stand a reasonable chance of getting this grant, it just seems like
So.
the due diligence might be to give it another year.
So two things, so somebody will have to correct me or let me know if this is right or wrong. So we went to the voters last year to approve a bond for X amount of dollars. So that is gonna increase, so we have to go back to the voters to increase that bond amount.
She put that in the
Did-
grant.
I put that in the grant
Yeah, I talked to
applications.
her, yeah.
That we received overwhelming support in 2024, but due to waiting and increased costs. Increased budget that the town would need to hold a special town meeting,
Right.
to get that approval.
Yeah, we added that,
Yeah.
Right.
And so we asked, the article asked for a
At least that
specific approval for a specific dollar amount,
Yes, I
not
think
for
I-
a percentage of the cost.
I've got it ready to go. I think last year it was 6.3, it was over 6.3, but it was in that area, and then we were asking to bond up to $1 million.
Yes.
If we were going to voters to request that. Or if we waited to see how the CDS grant played out, we would give them a total cost of almost, well, I guess it is 6.8 million. And then we would use our 585,000 in reserve, and we would need to bond around 1.2.
Mhm.
So yeah, that, like you said, that would have to go back, because it's not one, it's not
Right.
enough, and 1, 2 was for this past grant. I think the
Correct.
wording is not correct.
Right, so I guess I'll throw this out there and so. We gotta go back to the voters to, one, if we go bond route, to increase that, not the bond route, at the grant. Line, we're gonna have to increase that bond. And ask the voters' permission for that. At the same time, you could have the second question at that special town meeting, if we don't get the bond, if that's how everybody's gonna wanna go, either way, you know, we don't get that bond. that-
Bond or the grant?
The
The grant, excuse me,
The grant, okay.
We knew what you.
They would-
I just wanted to clarify.
He wants option A and option B.
Right, right.
I think that that one warrant article would cover that.
So what he's saying is, we get the grant, if we ask for the grant money, and then second part of that, we don't get the grant,
Yes.
we ask for the amount to get funded.
Right,
So it's like two part, I guess.
or it might, have
Two part
to
or
be,
separate.
or separate, it might
Yeah,
have to be
So one
separate,
come to, the grant one will probably go be first and then,
right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, I would think you'd wanna do them as two separate, because you might
Yes.
have people that aren't willing now to commit to bonding a year from now for the whole 7 or 8 million.
Well, that would save having another special town
Right,
meeting
but if
after
you had that
that.
as an option, separate one,
That's the bad thing, is we don't find out till April.
right.
I mean, if we get it.
Right.
So,
It could be-
Either way,
It'd be nice if we
we'd be
do-
pushing it off for a year either way.
right, and then you
They,
keep
I think
pushing
they
and
even
pushing.
told us, what is this, 2025? They told us last year that we may even find out in December, remember?
Right, and
Because we had really gone through the
I think it's
process
budget,
really
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, so we might find out we get it, but you still gotta fund it.
you've gotta make
They
sure the
wanted
CDS
to
grants are funded by Congress.
right.
I mean, we passed everything this time, but
Right, and,
we
Yeah.
didn't hit the funding.
We have overwhelming support from both Collins and King.
yeah,
Like I say, and I'm hoping they're pushing to get some, that's,
and when, did we know as we went through the various steps, did they let us know that we passed this step?
Yes,
and we
yes,
passed-
yes.
So if we
So we'll
didn't
know.
pass a step, we
Yes.
would know that sooner,
Oh, my goodness, yes.
okay,
Yes, we would know pretty quickly.
we'll know if
Okay.
we-
Yes.
at least that part.
So-
Yeah, one more funding.
Right. So, but, and then the other reason to get approval, you know, if we don't get the grant from the taxpayers to bond a full boat is, it's kind of hard to get companies to start bidding the project if they don't, if you don't sure if you're gonna have a funding source to fund the building. Nobody wants to waste their time bidding a building until they don't check there's approval to build a building.
But then that two-part article.
Yeah.
Would
If
give,
you have the two
Right.
articles, it's gonna be, do you wanna, bond for our portion of the federal grant? And question number two is that if we don't get the grant, do you wanna bond for the full amount?
so,
And then, do we wanna do a 3 question and give the taxpayers, do you wanna wait and take the chance on the grant? Or do you wanna bond it for the,
no,
because
no,
I think that's.
That would be part of that second question.
Yeah.
Cause if
They
they
vote
come back,
down,
in
they're
if they
gonna
come
say-
back in November or December and say you didn't get it, then you just, all right, you start sending out requests for the bond.
Right, you could move pretty quickly then,
okay?
I think, yeah, they,
because you already have approval.
Yeah, cause the budget, I know they only have, the government only has a budget until September, I can't remember what it is, but
Yeah. it's
sometime in
all-
September.
Till
So
September.
they gotta vote on another budget in September, so this could happen as quick as September. I wouldn't book that, but you could know something by September.
But they could vote in September to do another continuing resolution, which is what they did this time,
Right.
and put in just the basics.
Correct.
And that's why we didn't get it, is because the continuing resolution did not fund any CDS grants.
Right.
just.
So we could have that same continuing resolution for another 90 days, because that's how things seem to be happening.
So the question, I don't know if you guys decided this, going from, to the fiscal year, what do you have in the town meeting next year?
We'd have we haven't yet
We haven't
changed it, but
figured
if we
that out.
We
change it,
actually
we'd
have
have
a
a town
budget
meeting.
committee meeting
Next week.
next week.
December.
to
Right,
start
you can take
working
it
on
roughly like June or having a town
that.
meeting?
No, I'm thinking January,
And then.
I'm thinking January and then June.
Right,
So
So
be
we'll do
short trip, but-
January to vote on a very basic, no frills.
So we wouldn't be
no
able to be on that
extras, 6-month budget,
No, you didn't.
Why not?
6-month budget.
so we'd have to, well, I'm trying to see if we could coordinate it into our town meeting, but we can't, we'd have to have a special.
Yeah,
Right.
you
But why
need-
couldn't it
I
be,
would call a special
All right.
town meeting this
That's what I
year,
was
that would be
asking.
my recommendation, so
Yeah,
that
we don't wanna
we,
wait till June.
we know we have that support in place, the board has a plan in place, so we're going through the grant process, if we get kicked out early. We know that voters have agreed and support, bonding the project, so we just move on very quickly.
But we might have to have that rate off, because last time they wanted town approval before we moved on. to
Yeah,
the
but that
grant.
was,
That was
yes,
that
you
$1
are
million.
correct. We did it in May.
Yeah,
We
We
did
might
it
have
in
to
May
have that
last year.
this summer.
yeah,
June.
yeah.
So you
probably need to have
Yeah,
that.
so we might
Yeah,
have
we
to
did
do
do
that
it May,
again,
I
just to
wanna
get
say it was
approval.
May 22nd.
So you're gonna do that, yeah?
May 22nd.
Yes.
can we do it in conjunction with the school vote?
think there was
I think
something
there's too
recent, the
much
school vote was too late last year. I think we had to do it
But
early.
I think they'll let us know once we apply, they're gonna
They-
say,
no,
you need to
we-
get this done.
Because we applied April, like about this time last year, and by May 22nd, we knew that they wanted us to have a special town
Right,
meeting
it
and
was
get
quick.
voter approval.
Right.
Because they were so supportive and knew our application was gonna make
Right.
it through.
Well, I think you're gonna know, because last time we got the application and they said immediately,
They were
you
really
gotta get
quick.
town approval, so we
Yeah.
might have to have a
They
special
were
town
really
meeting for a
quick.
month or so.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I
We
think
need to-
June. the
And then you're
4th,
gonna
I think it would be
incorporate
too late.
both parts of that.
Both parts
Two
of that.
They wanted that in
They- I
order to
remember
go
they
ahead
wanted
and
it
move
very
us.
fast.
Yeah.
And so would this be a secret ballot or would this be a?
No, we did a special town meeting.
Special
last year
town
at the
meeting,
center.
Center Hall, Susan.
Yeah.
It wasn't very long. It was pretty quick.
We could have them do it,
Yeah.
September. though.
Yeah.
I think
It
we
went
should
well.
look at seeing
It
how
did go
quickly we
well.
can do that, only because if they come back and say, do you have that vote yet?
Might not hurt to work
And I
on the
did,
articles.
we did include that we would be doing that in the
Mhm.
grant application.
Yeah.
We didn't know that previously, that they.
We
Well,
also need to know for the public, because you have the public hearing somebody at some point too for it, so.
Right.
Wouldn't hurt it, I don't know,
You don't
Lorna or
have to
somebody
have
could
a
work
vote
on
for-
those, that,
No, you
Town
don't need a
meeting.
public-
That schedule.
It's an
Is it the
in-person
town-
town.
the article.
That's what we're doing first.
Get the article.
It'd be good if you could work on the two articles though, so we're ready
Yeah, I
to go.
already have the first one.
Well, then the
Good
second
to
one
go,
would be,
but I can, yeah, I can.
it'd
get
be
the
nice if
second
they had a
one
30-year
easily.
bond when they did it.
Yeah.
I know they don't. right
We won't
now.
know that till, I think, July or August. when they
Right, it
know
was
what
for the
the dollar
fall.
amounts
It
are.
definitely was, well, you paid more.
Lee Bragg said late summer. They'll know the fall issue and what the rates are.
The only other benefit is an interest rate. Those bonds. Cause that's how, when we did the trucks and stuff, the bond rate was really cool.
Even last year's warrant article, for the grant funding, the match, I think we were using a 4.7 rate even last year. And they've given us around 5.
I say before that, back, was it 3 or 4 years ago, it was down to like 1.99.
Yeah, I thought it was 1.75, we locked the trucks in on.
Yeah,
It was low.
it was cheap money.
Who knows, we'll see that again.
All
Those
right,
things are gonna.
so,
Okay, so are we ready for a motion? So I move that we vote to hold a special town meeting to seek approval for 2 warrant articles. One for the 25% share of the cost if we get the grant. And the second for the to bond the full amount if we don't get the grant.
do we have to have a date to be determined? Because I don't know if we have to vote on a date.
We have to vote on the
I don't
date
think
right
we
now?
have to.
I don't think so.
No.
You what? I'm
So we
sorry,
need a date for the town, in the, I don't think,
I don't think the motion is that, we just set the thing and then
yeah.
make sure that we have enough
Do
time
it
to
at
get
the
all of our
next
notices out.
Meeting or whatever.
Your next meeting will be May 6th. That gives you 7 days, if you decide on a date, that time it still gives you 7 days to post notice, because I'm thinking we did it May, for some reason, I think we did May 22nd
It
last
was
year.
quick, yeah.
It went very quick.
So
It's just before
if
more.
we have everything ready to go, it should be pretty
Mm-hmm.
smooth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see Mary's on? Do you see any issue with that, Mary?
It was May
No.
22nd.
No, yeah, all we need is the 7 days of posting anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Robert made the motion, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. All is in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-0.
And maybe when you're doing those articles, if we can just say, oh, I guess you won't know for 30-year bond, but we try for 30 or 20, whatever it is. But how are you gonna get figures for that? though? You're gonna have to go with a 20-year bond.
If we go 20.
You'll have to go
Because you won't have a 30
20,
till May.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
And then we
no
could
other-
say if a
there's
30,
no other way.
maybe you could put at the bottom of the 30 years available. We'll drop-
Well, you can word it,
Let
that,
the lawyer work.
Yeah, we'll let
Yeah.
everyone work.
We know what we're trying to do, let the lawyer work.
I just don't wanna leave us bound to a 20-year, a 30 happens to be.
Yeah, I think,
I don't
I
think
think
that would
the
have to
warrant,
be-
I
that
think the
wouldn't have
warrant
to be.
article is decided upon the town, the board, the treasurer, determining the best options for the town. I don't think it locks you in,
Right?
yeah.
We want this on a Saturday, correct?
No.
No,
We did it in the
Last time we did
evening.
that
yeah,
Thursday.
honestly,
I
we
just-
did a Tuesday
Wednesday,
or a
Wednesday.
Wednesday. If
The
memory
reason I'm
serves.
asking is the week, that weekend would be, the week of the 17th is available, the 24th runs into Memorial Day, which is early.
Mhm.
So we may want to look at, either 14, 15, or 21, 22, you're running into Memorial Day weekend. So just be thinking ahead as we're looking at dates.
And I think the grants, they'll come back and say, hey, we need this by such and such a date.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah,
I
they
say
really
June, we might
caught
be
us
able to.
off
do the first
guard
meeting in June or
last
something,
year.
So we
Because
could
they
do
didn't
the
give us a-
14th, which is
We
a
did it
Wednesday.
on a Wednesday last
Yeah.
year, May 22.
Cause they caught us off guard with that.
Yeah.
Last year. We need,
Yep, they did,
Okay.
but now we know, we're prepared. Right?
Okay.
We're all set with that one?
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work on this.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Next agenda item is Friends of the Belgrade Lakes Village Parking Area.
Oh, Michael, your phone's at home. Don't be looking for it.
My phone's.
You saw them, actually, said it, tell them not to look for it.
Thanks for sharing.
Thought I left it in the car.
Kathy? I have pictures. I have photos which the board has.
Oh, the board's standing?
Well,
We
we
have-
have them now. Everyone, I printed them on.
Wait, do you want me to pass these around?
No, we don't have them.
You
That's
have
for
them.
you.
Ah, thank you very
We
much.
all have pictures of the rock garden.
And it is a rock garden, isn't it?
That's a really good way to describe it. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Kathy Atkinson. I'm co-chair of, the Friends of Belgrade Lakes Village, and, first of all, thank you for the work that you do for the town. I mean, that's a lot of heavy stuff to go through, so. A little bit, hopefully a little bit easier discussion, for a few minutes here. So Friends is working on the parking lot, and we're, hoping to have things ready to go. Maybe if things all work by the 4th of July, no promises, but we're sure working hard to get to that point. And in so doing, we try and, as we have been throughout the project, really to look at all aspects of what's going on. So went down to the, lower parking lot, the little one there, that's been there at the Village Green, because that's where the engineer has placed the, what will be only handicap parking, but that's where also the porta potties will have been, that the town's had there. We're gonna move them. The new position will be, running east-west, Route 27 this way, instead of the position that they're in now. So in examining that area, what we felt was maybe just a little tight, so that for the handicap cars backing out, that it maybe need to be looked at again. And for that reason, April 4th, Hans Rasmussen, our CEO, Jason Stevens, who was the contractor that did all the work, and Corey Alexander, a property manager, met with the Friends of Blake, our friends group, looking specifically at that area to say, do we have the right plan here for placing the porta potties? And what we felt with their help was that it's just a little tight, and what would be optimal would be, and I know this was in your minutes, just to push those rocks back. But as you say, it's the rock garden. So that's why Jason was there. What could Jason do? So, if the recommendation was move the rocks back a little bit, pull them out, and that's a very rocky corner, as you can see from your pictures. And with his excavation equipment, he would place them aesthetically up there in that corner that's bordered by the West Road. And that would give us just a little more space. And then instead of what we had been considering before, with help from Hans and Corey and Jason, what everyone agreed and felt was the right thing was to excavate. There's a little trench area, a little depression there now. We were going to build over it. Instead, the recommendation is to excavate that, put a culvert in full length, and then cover it back up and then finish it with the crushed bluestone, all tamped down so that it would be the same as what's there. So the result would be just move back a little bit, some of the big boulders taken out and placed. Flat surface so that the porta potties would go directly on this, can I say prepared surface, okay? And then in addition, what we plan is a fence that would match the wooden picket fence that's at the back of the property, before all this started. Half of that property, the property line between us and now Ann McCandlish had that picket fence. We have already at the end of the parking lot extended, put the rest of the fence in. This fence in front of the porta potties would match that, so it'd be a sense of things going together. So my question to you is, will you give us the approval to pay for all the expenses involved in moving those rocks back to expand the footprint that just, it'll only be like 3 to 4 feet back, to just give more room there to make things for a permanent solution that we want to serve the town for years and years to come, to do it the right way now. So my request is, would you approve that we pay for this? Any questions?
How many parking spaces are there gonna be there, do you know?
3 totally
Three,
handicapped.
three
Only
handicapped.
handicapped exclusively.
Okay.
Nice big space, fully compliant. And the porta potties themselves will be, are large. Each one's about 5.5 square feet. And they're fully handicapped size.
And there'll be 2?
2.
So one of these pictures, I see the electrical service is right beside the rock,
Yes,
and it looks like there's a guy that's in that ditch you're talking about.
Yes,
yes.
And that's a customer owned pole because the meter's on it. So that would need to be addressed when that trench is dug.
That's gonna be about 15-20 feet away from that pole.
So the trench won't be going to that ditch?
It'll go in that ditch, but it'll be, if you're looking at it this way, the pole's here, the trench is here. It'll be about 15 to 20 feet from that pole in the middle of that ditch, back into that bank. So it should have no effect on that pole whatsoever.
So the grade won't change where the pole is?
No, not at all.
Alright.
No. It'll be like a 15 square foot porta potty pad. Is what it's gonna be.
It's about, it'll be roughly about 26 feet long.
Yes.
15 feet wide. The whole, this compressed area. And then the conduit, is 26
these are all gonna
feet.
go up.
That Jason is,
And this is here.
No, it's this area.
And that crushed stone is what's
This
in
area.
there. This crushed stone is the surface that's,
Yeah.
that's there now.
bluestone,
over
crushed
here.
bluestone.
Bluestone, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good, right about in front of that picture.
Yep.
In front of that stuff.
You did a nice job with these.
Huh? Yeah, I know.
Any other questions? I can,
I'm good for that.
Oh, okay, I move we approve the removal of the stones, the moving of the stones to a different location to allow for more space for parking and handicap porta potties.
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
thank you very much. And while I'm here, now, no promises for this, no promises at all, but we're working to pave the top parking lot. Jason did a great job getting that ready. If at the end of this, we have enough money, we've gotten estimates to pave this handicap parking lot that we're talking about. Don't know that we could do that, but my question is now, if we did, would you authorize us to pay for the paving of that handicapped parking lot, which would lead up to these porta potties?
No.
Since that's not on the agenda tonight, I think we're gonna have to wait and address that on another meeting, but I don't think there's gonna be a problem. I think we're gonna,
Whatever, I mean, we can bring
It's
it.
the park, the
next
parking
week.
areas on the agenda.
different party, well,
Okay, we can.
I mean, it
consider-
doesn't matter to me. If
Yeah.
you think we can do it, we can do it now.
We can consider that.
Yeah.
This is really all about the lower part.
You wanna,
It's all about the.
Yeah, it's the lower.
Yeah.
It's
it's just, we didn't have a formal request, so that's why.
No, there wasn't. I probably shouldn't have. I just thought. You know, you've had so many requests for tremendous expenses to deal with tonight. I thought it just might feel good to get an offer. If it could happen, yeah.
We love free.
Yes, we do.
I'm not promising this. We don't know how those final dollars are gonna come out, but if it were. Because, for us to, maximize the pricing that we've gotten for, we've had both priced out, we would have to do both lots at the same time. So we'd have to know
Mhm.
if we had the money, if, you know, to put things in place. That's why I took the opportunity to do this now.
Somebody wants to make a motion, go for it.
I move that we approve the paving of the lower parking. We've already approved the paving of the upper parking.
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay, I move that we approve the paving of the lower parking lot, should the Friends funding make that possible.
Second.
All those in favor?
thank
I have
you.
nothing.
and if anyone has a spare $10,000 in their back pocket, you might be able to make that happen. You gotta ask, you know?
All right, next item is our fees for paving.
So what you have in your packet is just an updated version of the last paving RFP that went out 3 years ago. Jason met with Pike Industries. They went over all of the specs, so we have those correct, the requirements that we would be looking for. They did all the measuring. So we have all of that accurate. And we would look to, if you approve, we would look to get this out right away. And then have this back so that you would have an opportunity to review bids at your first meeting in May. So that we could get going earlier is better.
Where is Grandview?
I'm sorry.
Off Route 11. As you go into Oakland, it's on the left,
Right after Dane Lane on the left.
yeah, after Dane Lane.
I was just wondering how close that was to down in the village, maybe they could talk to our paver and they could, since they're all in favor, all in favor, they may get a better deal.
Ready for a motion?
So I just have a question. I'm not familiar with how these are generally done, but is there on these tables, would that,
The bidder fills that in.
right, but does that also have the length of the road? Should
It's explained
it's
in the RFP.
It's in the
all
text.
the
It's in the
specifications.
text, okay.
Yeah,
So it wouldn't
each
be-
one is specific.
Okay, yeah, I saw that, but I was wondering if it would also be listed here.
It wasn't previously, so I didn't add it in.
Okay,
Yeah.
as I said, not my area of expertise.
Mine either.
I move we approve the paving RFP as stated.
And Jason looked this all over.
Yeah, he and I worked on it together, yeah.
All right, no more questions, all those in favor? 5-0.
Okay.
The business.
I have one item under other business, fuel bids coming in. So I wanted to get these. Simply because we do have a volatile, market, so if we can lock in, that would be great. So the bids, for RSU 18, the two products that we, use would be number 2, heating oil and propane. Number 2, oil came in at $2.59, propane at $1.429. Augusta Fuel also submitted their bid, $2.61 fixed for heating oil and $1.53 fixed for propane. And I also looked up to see what we were paying, for the previous year, heating oil at $3.20 and propane at $1.55.
Let's come down.
Yeah,
And we're currently with them, right?
we are currently with Augusta Fuel, yes. I know I think their bid was a tiny bit higher last year, but we, I know that you all discussed that and voted to, stay with them. Services superior, Paul lives here in town and,
The only question I've got
he's
is
jumping the
I
spot
wanna ask Bruce is since they've been bought out,
from Deadwood with
going by
Deadwood.
Dead River, a lot of stuff has changed over there. Are we still better off going with them versus?
I mean, as long as, and Corey, I think Corey got on them pretty hard last winter, as long as they do better on running us out of fuel. That was.
Oh, they're willing to run us out of fuel.
Oh, yeah.
Willing to run every
Very well.
Right to my house where I'm fuel just recently.
As long as they can get better at that, I mean, I don't see a, issue of it. I do see an issue probably coming, next year. I think it's gonna be a little bit more push. You're probably gonna see the trucks start to change from Augusta Fuel to Dead River. I think you're gonna see. So as a rate, if you talk to the text says, we get the yearly meeting and the text saying it's gonna be pushed more towards the Dead River side of it, Augusta Fuel side of it's gonna kind of start to phase out like any other.
It's already happening. They're already getting rid of the Augusta Fuel vendors and going to Dead River vendors.
Yeah,
There was a Dead River truck filled my house the other day.
So the plus is Paul.
right.
He
That's,
lives
not-
here and
he's
he's
not
really
He's
yeah,
not
committed.
involved.
He's,
I'm sorry.
He's the general manager.
He's still
Oh,
the
he's
general
still,
manager.
so he's still
He's the
involved.
one
Okay.
But
we
you gotta
give a
remember,
yell to when we.
it's still a new company.
yeah.
And sometimes new companies and the way people start clashing.
Right, and eventually, he's not gonna be able to pull the numbers like he's doing right now for us, more than likely. He's gonna have to follow by, Dead River's a big company, so he's gonna have to follow by the numbers of Dead River. And, you take like Dead River, I'm sure, bids the school, this and that also. And, if Dead River's not getting the school, that means that their numbers aren't, driving.
He's giving us better numbers.
Right. And thank gosh, he's doing that, but I don't know how long he's gonna be able to do that,
Right.
He'll
But
probably be
for the
pretty
moment,
honest,
though,
yeah.
it looks like we're,
Yeah, I would go that vote again, I mean,
We'll do it for this year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we'll have to revisit it next year and see what's happening.
So with this fixed price agreement, the quoted price, the 261 and the 153, those could change before we agree.
No,
No,
they're fixed.
That's what they think.
If you all vote to go that route, then I would, first thing in the morning at dark 30, email Paul and say, Paul, we're good to go, and he would get a
Okay.
contract for us
Okay.
to sign, so we'd be locked in.
He's
Okay.
also dark 32.
Yeah.
I know, I've been here at the office. I move we lock in our price with Augusta Fuel at 2.61 fixed for number 2 oil, and 1.53 fixed for propane.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. I've got one thing for other business. It was brought to our attention that we kind of screwed up on the last meeting when we were doing the side by side. That unit should have gone out to bid, not just quotes, because it was over $15,000.
On the what?
The
Side by side that was purchased. We had three
Oh.
quotes, but it didn't go out that, the bid like it's supposed to go out the bid, so we do have to start watching that. We couldn't do that with the truck because we're a used truck. But technically, anything over $15,000, we are supposed to put out to bid. Just to do our due diligence,
Mhm.
so we need to,
I think that's why we had 3 or 4
yeah,
quotes, yeah.
but technically those aren't bid. We didn't send out an RFP with specs, and technically we're supposed to do that.
Hmm.
That's in our policy.
Hmm.
So, just as a reminder, we need
Yeah.
to remember that.
Do remember.
I have one thing under other business. We talked from time to time about having some board training. And now that we have 2 new board members, I just want to bring that up again to see if we wanted to look into having some training for all of us, not just for the new board members who are supposed to do that, at least for the FOIA training. You know, you're supposed to do that. on your
I'm
own.
all signed up.
Yeah, yeah.
May 29th.
Yeah.
Isn't it just like?
But just to, have kind of a work session about role of the select board and so forth, and maybe Lorna could look into, what some of the options might be. I know that MMA does not come out anymore and do training. They have videos. We could all sit down and watch a video. Our lawyer probably does training. But I just thought it might be good if we're all kind of on the same page.
Yeah, probably lawyer training is gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
Or however many hundreds of dollars an hour.
Right.
So I mean, if they have videos that we could start with something like that, then if we watch those and we find some questions that aren't answered, then we can start asking questions.
Mhm.
But I have no problem with seeing if we can get some. It's been a while, 'cause I mean,
Yeah,
it's been a lot of years since I went through the MMA training.
I think it's good just to keep us all together, sort of like remembering some of these little things that we run into.
right. Yeah, and I think it's good if all 5 of us do it
To do it
together,
together.
so we're all on the same page.
We can bond. We can bond.
So do you want videos from MMA?
Well, I don't know, I would just like to know what the options are.
Is there some kind of online video training that we can?
I think you have to pay for anything with it.
Well,
Let's
it's
see what
cheaper
the
to have
cost is, I mean.
MMA does.
I mean, it would
trainings.
just simply be you meeting in here and
Yeah.
logging in and playing the video on the screen.
Right.
Which is no different than the fire department Super Sunday training. You sit there and you watch the videos, and there's questions, you come up with questions, and we ask for answers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I just don't know what the options are, but I know that we've talked about it from time to time. And it just seems like this is a good time to bring it up again. Since we have two new board members and we all wanna,
Right.
That would be great.
all wanna
I'll see what I can find.
do what we do.
We're ready. Warrants. First warrant, in my book anyway. AP warrant 34. For $25,379.07.
I move we approve.
Second,
Any questions on
so-
this one?
yeah, so this is just a little confusing, because the truck was originally on here, but now it's on the next one.
This, yeah, this was
There was an issue, doing this one in trio, so it got corrected.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a trio problem.
yeah, it was our new bookkeeper, and then something got clicked wrong, and Mary had to call and find out how to fix it.
Okay,
They got it figured out.
okay, because I saw it was on
They
I
had
saw it
to-
was on the next one.
They had to adjust the warrants.
Okay, got it.
You had a second, me?
Yes, Carol and then Barbara, so just.
Any other questions? All those in favor? I have nothing. Next one is AP warrant 35, 76,546.50.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, that one's the truck. Any questions on that? No. I know we got the tires at a little bit of a discount,
Yeah, he gave us $2,000.
okay, and you're spraying with Doug's equipment and spraying it,
We will.
save us some money. Pay for the
Using
chemical.
it to,
On a side
the
note,
sweeping.
they've been working 3 days, 4 days. The
3 or 4
truck
days.
and then
3 or 4
one,
days we worked.
so it's saving the town money versus Jason using his equipment. So
Intersections.
doing a good job.
Yeah. They
So you
finished up
did
today.
5 loads, did 5 loads yesterday?
5 loads yesterday, I think, 3 loads today.
That's a lot.
4 loads last week.
All right, all those in favor of this one? 5-0. Next one is BMV warrant 36, $8,758.47.
Move to approve.
Second.
First and seconded. Any questions on this one? It's fairly straightforward. No, all those in favor? 5-0. Next is payroll warrant 37, $22,274.60.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions? No, all those in favor? 5-0. Next is another AP warrant, 38. This is the big one. $708,823.29.
RSU, it's this every time.
We have a motion in a second on that.
Move to approve. Article 38.
Second.
Okay, any questions on that?
Yeah, I didn't have anything.
No. Is this our last payment to Cummings, or do we continue?
I believe it is. We may have one more.
Maybe one more.
We may have one more and then we take a break until the fall. Yeah. I think we do have one more and then we take a break until the fall.
All right, so. No questions, everyone all set? All those in favor? 5-0. Next is a BMV warrant 38. $3,860.42.
Oh, 39. 39.
Yeah, warrant 39.
Move to approve.
All those in favor? Nothing. Payroll warrant 40, $22,740.28.
Move to approve.
Second.
In favor of that one. Doug, you guys all set with that one?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
5-0. Payroll warrant 41. $108.19.
We missed a check.
Oh, okay, right. Wow, that's a small pay grade.
That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? 3, 4, 5.
Woo-hoo.
All good on that one. Town manager.
Packet, I included some printed information for you to review when you have time. The new fire station application for a building permit has been approved by the planning board with conditions. I know I sent that out via email, but I've given you a printed copy as well. We now have a new Instagram account to help disseminate information to the general public. You can find us and follow at Belgrade, Maine. All department heads have access to this account to help promote activities and information for the public. RFPs for the sand and salt shed roof, Dalton demolition, and trail work at the Center for All Seasons have been posted to our website, Facebook, Instagram account, and Maine Municipal Association site. Proposals are due April 29. On that note, I got in touch with the state on the repair of the sand salt shed roof, and Facilities Director Corey Alexander will be meeting with someone this week, actually tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, to take a look at it. They have had similar repair work done on other facilities and will be able to offer some insight on what is needed. Once we have that information, we will likely add this to a future agenda for review by the select board. We will want to take a look at the winter snowplow contract, as we now have just 2 years left. This will be added to an upcoming agenda. With so many new seasonal opportunities for businesses popping up, like food trucks, vendors, etc., now is a great time to review and discuss some ideas with permitting and licensing. Mary Vogel has been working on this and done some research, and we will put something together probably within the next meeting or two, for the board to discuss. Pre-K registration at your April 1 meeting, the board discussed a program and voted to send a letter to Superintendent Gartley. His response is attached for public record. Property tax assistance applications are due by May 1. Residents can find the form and ordinance. There's a link in my manager's report. We also have copies printed and available at the town office for pickup. And we have, I think we have about 10 applications to date. I think there were some folks who were in yesterday and today, so we may have a few more.
And I saw you had the board up front.
Yes.
Which I think is a great idea.
Mary's and Ian and Joanne have been super promoting that when folks come in. Yeah. The budget committee is scheduled to meet April 22 to begin work on changing fiscal years. The CDS grant applications have been submitted to both Senator Collins and Senator King's offices respectively. I got Senator Collins submitted last night about 7:30, and the King application had to be in before noon today, so we met that deadline. The Board of Parks and Recreation, K-WISP, and the town have been working on a field use agreement to bring to the select board for review. We have a draft approved by legal counsel included here. This will be an agenda item for your May 6th meeting. Per policy, annual reviews of employees are in process and will be completed in the month of April. On the K-WISP piece, I looked while we were discussing a few other things. If you look at your minutes from your last meeting, I did include in my town manager's report on page 6. I attended a meeting with Board of Parks and Recreation and representatives from K-WISP on field usage guidelines and needs for the field this year. We are working on a new agreement to bring to the select board for review and consideration. So.
Do we have a copy of the one that was sent to them, they worked on and sent back?
I think what she gave you was the original draft to work from.
Right, but I'd like to see what they came back with, correct, as to how they're.
I can see.
There's not much.
They just hand wrote on.
Yeah,
I can
there's not
certainly
much
send a scanned
difference.
Email. They did not, it came back through Jacob and it was all handwritten. They declined to attend the Parks and Rec board meeting after they were notified. So we had our meeting, we then went and said, you're welcome to come to our public meeting to bring your minutes back. They didn't, they declined that invitation. So they sent it back with handwritten notes with Jacob. We added it. That's when we met with Lorna again. And then Lorna and I sat down yesterday and looked at the piece from Phil.
Yeah, I sent it right over to Phil for legal review because there's no point in moving forward unless he gives his okay. He made some edits, picked up on some legal terms, added some language to protect the town. He picked up on the fact that he could not find Kenneth Workman's Sports Youth Program as a legal nonprofit entity in the state of Maine. So he flagged that as a concern. But what you have here, he has approved.
Right, but what I want So I wanna
their
know
notes.
what some of their notes are
Yeah.
to see how it's
I
corresponding
haven't
with
seen
this.
their.
So we
handwritten
can we have the minutes from the meeting that we had with them, and then what I can do tomorrow is just forward all of the email correspondence. And then I'll have to scan the handwritten notes.
That
and
would
then
be
you
great,
guys
because
will-
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd rather have
I'd
that
love
ahead of
to
time
see
so I can
that.
look at it before we get to this next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got this agreement, all of a sudden it's like, no, they want this in this agreement. So,
We have an auditor's report, yeah.
No. Not yet, she's still working on it. I know, Mary and I were talking about that today. That we don't have it now.
I think it's intent right now.
I have a suggestion on the, Salmon salt shed. So what's the issue with the roof first? You just got
screws are popping.
screws and broken,
Yeah.
that's typical with corrugated metal, I had that out the normal fix it. So another suggestion would be for the front of it. Where the doors are, it keeps getting hit with the dump trucks. So years ago, when I was gonna fix it, but I didn't get a chance to get to it. But I would suggest putting steel brackets above that door and a pressure treated 4x6 going across the door. So when the dump bodies hit that, it's gonna be hitting off something that you can replace the 4x6, and it's not gonna be damaged in that building. So I don't know who you get it to do the metal roof things, or if they can move something.
You've got some woodwork to do inside from where the span cracked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we got
Some of-
several 2x6s and pieces of plywood that need to be replaced, so there's that person.
and who's doing that, the same person that you had do?
Well, that remains to be seen.
It's
because-
out on the RFP.
Yeah, it's out on the RFP right now.
Right.
We've got nothing back, but we'll get something from Bala Roofing. And I haven't heard anything from anybody else yet.
I think they're due the 29th.
Yeah, nobody's requested to look at it, but also meeting with the state tomorrow. David brought something up, David Stevens, that they've talked to people on, in reference to our roof, that they've had to do extensive repairs. The state has done 5 or 6 different salt sheds like ours with a complete refiguration of the roof because they can't stop the screws from popping. And what else did the guy say? Can't stop them from popping anyway, so there's a solution. I'll find out what the solution is tomorrow. If it's something that we gotta change, the RFP is still out there. If what we've got going is correct, then we'll move forward with that, but if not, we don't have to approve the RFPs anyway, we'll just.
Well, the question I was talking the carpentry stuff. Yeah, I know you've used one carpenter on a lot of stuff lately, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Right,
Yeah, yeah,
yes, and if we're gonna continue to use them, if they're. We've been using them a lot, and I'm wondering if we almost ought to actually ask. Just like we have an electrical contractor and a plumbing contractor, if they wanna be the town carpenter, we get a rate set and get it on paper. Cause that way, that way, it would be nice to do it the same way.
I can ask them that.
You have a contact, you have a
Or,
company to
you know,
contact.
Right,
or if there's somebody else out there that's willing to do the same
right,
thing.
but we could actually ask for bids,
Exactly.
you know, and do the same thing we're doing with other contractors and. Kind of have a town contractor that we could call to have come in and do the work.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Cause that way, if we get into some jobs that should be going out for RFP, if it's part of the town, part of the contract, you know, we got. At least some room to work with.
Especially for the smaller stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Those screws are just part of expansion and contraction.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Yeah,
It's
anything.
just heating up, and
Yeah.
that's why you guys all take mind on that when you want to go put one of those roofs on your house. Don't do that.
Don't do it.
Lorna, I'd just like to just say and have you put in the minutes, a big thank you to you for pulling together at last minute the King and the Collins grants. I know how much work that was and in spite of everything else, getting those in and on deadline, because it was screeching to the deadline, so
Thank you.
just want to thank you and acknowledge that.
You're welcome.
So,
And I'd like to get Tom Daniels in on that too. He spent a lot of time getting the budget ready for wanting to present on that also.
we adjourn at 8:15.
Second.
All those in favor?
Rock and roll.
Oh, I was approving.
Okay.
Uh,